What's up, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fins. I'm your host, Aaron, and I'd like to thank you for joining me on another Request Wednesday. And if you've been watching my videos or you've seen them in the past, you probably think I look pretty weird right now, and that's because every year I do No Shave November, and every November 1st I shave everything off. So this is the first time in like a year I haven't had a beard, and I think last year, because of quarantine and all that, I just tried to see how long I could take it. So I went from like November to like May or April, somewhere around there without shaving. And I went back and looked at some of my old videos, and it's pretty intense how long my beard got. I can't believe it got that long. So I might try to see if I can go longer this time around. Maybe if I don't get bored and tired and shave it all off like last time. But anyways, on this Request Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the album Lament by the band Touche Amore. Touche Amore is a post-hardcore band. They are from Burbank, California. They started about 2007. And this is their 6th studio album, and it's pretty interesting. Like a little side note, Burbank, California is fairly close to where I live. It's maybe an hour-ish drive with traffic, and it's always fun to find all these new bands and find out that they're actually really close to where I live. Like the first time I found out Impending Doom was from Riverside, California. That's like a 10-minute drive from where I live at most, and I don't know, it's kind of cool to find all these home state bands that are actually really close to me. And I've actually never heard of this band before. Touche Amore is right up my alley. It's post-hardcore. That's something that I'm very, very much into and passionate about, especially in like 2007 through like 2015. I listened to a lot of post-hardcore, and I'm pretty shocked that I haven't heard of these guys before. And finding that out, I was pretty excited to get into it, and I wanted to go through the rest of their discography, but on this one, I decided to just give this album a listen and listen to as much as I can. That way, I don't really have a particular sound that I'm going off of. I'm just judging it straight off of this. I did watch an interview after coming up with my review and listening to the album a couple times, and it was Jeremy Bolm, and I don't remember the exact interview on YouTube. It was just some like 4 or 5 minute thing talking about this album. And the past albums he'd written were all concept albums. They're about very specific things. Like I believe the last one he said was about his mom dying from cancer, and it was just all that, nothing else. And he said that he wanted to get out of that mindset of just having an album be a specific story and subject, and he just wanted to do whatever he wanted on these songs, and it worked out really well. He talked about how he wanted to sing about things that weren't necessarily sad anymore, but just things that he just wanted to exercise his creative freedom in writing lyrics and writing songs. And yeah, it worked out. This is some pretty good writing throughout this album. And the mix and production on this album is kind of different. It has a lot of rawness to it, but at the same time, it is kind of glassy clean in certain aspects, especially musically. It's very cleaned up, and it's just very almost flat sounding musically. At least to me, it sounded that way. And the vocals are very much out in front on almost every single song. Sometimes they do take like a little bit of a backseat, like in bridges and stuff like that. But a lot of the songs on this album were like thrash and hardcore meets like shoegaze. I don't know. I had a hard time really coming up with a way to describe how this entire album sounded as a whole, because it is kind of all over the place with just the different songwriting, and like how I say, he was trying to express his creativity and just do whatever he wanted. But yeah, like it's the best I could come up with. Thrash and hardcore meets shoegaze. And the first song on the album, Come Heroin, has some amazing melodies, and it's a lot of what I love about post-hardcore, in the sense of it just has this full sound to it, but it still sounds very pretty and elegant. And the vocals, again, are very out in front. Jeremy has a very dry, crackly, distorted voice when he's singing with distortion. And even listening to him talk, it sounds like that's just the way how his voice sounds in general. And the song is about him expressing his gratitude and appreciation for someone in his life who was there for him throughout different tragedies and just helped him get through things. And he says that he never felt alone in any of these tragedies because of this person. The second song on the album, and the title track song, Lament, is something that we could all relate to. It's me especially, and it's about the cycle of anxiety. And when something triggers your anxiety and you're feeling anxious and you feel like you're gonna have a panic attack or whatever, one of the things that we as people do to get ourselves out of that is we distract ourselves. We pull out our phone, we go on Facebook, we go for a walk, just anything. It could be healthy or non-healthy. We can, for me, I like to play my guitar, or I like to read a book, or play video games, or listen to more music, or something like that. And the cycle of it is once we get distracted, we're okay. But then something else triggers our anxiety again, and it's just a cycle of, it's just anxiety, and it works for depression as well. And he talks about how even just going to bed can trigger the anxiety and depression, and then you go sleep and wake up and it starts all over again. And when I was reading the lyrics and the things that Jeremy said about it, I was like, man, this is just, it's almost too real. I wasn't planning on talking about this song yet, but it just seems like it fits right here. The very next song on the album, Fane, since I was talking about Lament being so relatable, Fane is about the anxiety and just the pressure that he feels when writing a song and lyrics to make it relatable. He's feeling the pressure of, like, are my fans going to get this? Are the people listening to it going to get it? And he even goes through the mindset of all the things that I've written that are relatable is a complete mistake. He didn't mean to do it. It just kind of happens, and it's kind of just like luck of the draw kind of thing. And he even goes on to say, I say the wrong thing at the perfect time. That's my signature on the silver line. So he's very doubtful in himself that he's going to be able to write something that's relatable to the fans, that the fans are going to get, and just something that they're going to enjoy. And I really enjoyed how the verses are slow, and then the tempo just speeds up insanely fast. It goes from maybe like 70, 80 beats per minute, maybe even 90. I mean, it isn't like super slow, but then it goes all the way up to maybe like 120, 130 beats per minute in the tempo when it hits the choruses. And I also liked how going from the chorus into the bridge, it has this really nice build-up going in the bridge, and there's tons of bass. The bridge is completely bass-driven, and I loved it. One of the songs that caught me off guard was Limelight, which goes over how fragile and yet strong love can be. And the reason why it caught me off guard is it's actually about his dogs passing away. He wrote, I think, like the first verse or a part of the song when one of them passed away, and then he finished it off with the second verse when the other dog passed away. And it starts out with this very gentle, pretty guitar riff with some vocals, and then it's a nice steady build up into the chorus. I'm not really a fan of the echoed lyrics in the chorus, but the music and everything just sounds so good, especially in the bridge. The music sounds phenomenal, and I loved the clean vocals in the bridge with the distorted vocals kind of backing it up a little bit. And it gives you a sense of him, like on the outside, he's cool, calm, and collected, but on the inside, he's kind of breaking down a little bit. And at least that's how I took it. And I loved, it's not even imagery from the lyrics, just the performance created that image, and it's so good. The song Savoring is my favorite sounding song on the album. It might not be my favorite one, but just the overall sound of it, it's so perfect. It's the guitar, the drums, the vocals, bass, everything is in this song is what I love about post-hardcore. It's just so ambient, and it's full of a lot of like wonder and amazement, and it just stirs a lot of emotions in you. It, like, I'm sure it affects everybody differently, and some people might not even get this, and it might just be a me thing, but it like takes me back to just a different time in my life. It transports me somewhere, and I love music that can do that. It's like when you have a certain smell that hits you, like baked cookies, it reminds you of Christmas when you were like 6 years old, and that's what post-hardcore rock does to me. And this is the sound that just hits me hard, and it, like I said, it just fills you with amazement, and it like leaves you on the edge of your seat, kind of like when you tip back in your chair just a little bit too much and you start to fall a little bit and you catch yourself. For that split second, you're just like, whoa. And that's kind of how this song is for me. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's the only way how I could describe it. And there's a couple songs on here that I wasn't really sure what they meant, but I still enjoyed them quite a bit, just their overall sound, like the song Exit Row, which it sounds very peaceful, and then the song A Broadcast, which I think might be about doing drugs. And again, that song is very slow and very peaceful as well. And the last album that they came out with was about his mom passing away from cancer, and there are a few songs on this album that talk about his life after she passed. And one of the songs, I'll Be Your Host, is about him struggling with the different events and just going through life afterwards, and how he feels like he has to be strong and he has to do certain things that he just doesn't want to do because it's hard. And it's totally understandable that you just don't want to have to deal with these things. And he isn't really saying he doesn't want to deal with it or do it, but he just feels very much alone. And the whole song is actually pretty big, and then the bridge just brings everything down, and his vocals come in and they're just very raw. It's almost like talking vocals in a way, and you just feel the emotion that he's feeling. And the other song is the last song of Forcast, which is less about his mom but more specifically his life in general, and relates to him how he's alone in a lot of this. He thought a lot of friends were going to be there and they're going to call him, and he talks about how when anniversaries comes around it's really hard, and he just wants he wants somebody to text him or call him and see how he's doing and talk to him, and he just wants somebody to be there, and he feels very much alone. And the music is phenomenal, and it starts out with just a beautiful guitar and his vocals, and it's very soft and gentle, and then once it builds up into it brings in all the music that just induces goosebumps. And the lyrics in it, it says, "I'm still out in the rain, I could use a little shelter," which is a beautiful image in so many different ways of him being out there. He's got like a rain cloud over him, and he just wants a break. Or he's still out in the rain, as in like they just kind of left him out there cold and like people forgot about him, and he's just alone. There's so many different images that go with it. I even love the little drum section at the end. All the music fades out at the end, and it's just the drums, and that also portrays loneliness quite well too. It's a perfect finisher. It's so good. The lyrics are phenomenal. If you don't listen to any of the songs on this album after this review, just go out and listen to this one. It's so good. I did have some problems with this album. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but at certain times I didn't really care for the drums all that much. Mostly their tone. The snare drum just sounds so harsh and brash sometimes, especially in the song Lament and then Come Heroin. It's so abrasive sounding, and it almost just doesn't fit the sound of all the other instruments around, including the other drums. It just stands out so much. And some of the vocal choices, like the echoing effects, just some things like that, I wasn't really all that into. Some of the vocal effects that they use, where it's not even just him echoing, it's just a weird effect that they put on the voice, I was just kind of, just wasn't really into it all that much. So the music is great, but I think where I really have a hard time with is just the certain tones that they throw in there. And the vocals were also, they're just kind of hit or miss with me. I do enjoy Jeremy as a vocalist. It's just some of the different effects and vocal choices that he made, I just couldn't get into it. So with all that said, I gotta give Lament by Touche Amore a 8.1 out of 10. Even though I just pointed out some things I didn't really like about this album, it is still a phenomenal post-hardcore album. And it reminded me again why I love post-hardcore so much. And even though, like I said, I point out some things I didn't like, it just shows how much variety is really in this genre. Because sometimes I get caught up in it too much and I'm like, oh, they all kind of sound the same. But then something like this comes along and reminds me that, there is a lot of variety out there still. And if you've listened to Lament, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought. If you haven't listened to it yet, go ahead and give a couple songs a listen, at least a few of them that I mentioned, and let me know what you would rate it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. And if you want to be part of Request Wednesday, leave an album, EP, or single, or anything like that in the comments below, and we'll throw it up on the whiteboard and we will make it happen for you. And if you do that, or you just happen to like what you see here, please feel free to subscribe and click the bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any future uploads, especially if you leave a request. That way you don't miss it when I do the review, because I usually get around almost everything that people request. And doing any of those things helps me out tremendously, and I appreciate it more than you guys could ever imagine. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I'll talk to you guys next time.